I worked overnight stock at Walmart for 8 months. It was one of those huge supercenters on the edge of town, sitting by itself with nothing but a highway and a field of dead grass around it. You clocked in when it was already pitch black outside, and the parking lot lights always flickered, like they were struggling to stay awake too. At first, it wasn't a bad gig. Quiet, no customers except the occasional weirdo walking the aisles at 2 a.m. The real work happened in the back. Unloading trucks, breaking down pallets, and stocking the shelves, but after a while, I noticed things that didn't add up. At first, it was small products disappearing, lights going out in aisles where they shouldn't, and scanners giving the wrong prices for things. We chalked it up to glitches and bad management, but then it got worse. There was one guy, Greg, who'd worked there longer than anyone. Kind of a loner, late 30s, heavy smoker. He'd warned new hires not to go past aisle 17 after midnight. Just skip it, he'd say. Management doesn't stock it anyway. But aisle 17 was the cleaning supplies section. People stocked it all the time. I asked him once why he said that, and he just shrugged. I'm not saying anything happened. I'm just saying I've never seen anyone come out of there the same. One night I got assigned to restock bleach and paper towels. You guessed it, aisle 17. I didn't think twice. It was just shelves and fluorescent lights. But as I turned the corner, the lights above that aisle flickered and dimmed. I figured someone was messing with the breakers again. But the weird thing was, it was only that aisle. The next one over, bright as hell. I walked down it anyway, rolling the cart, ignoring the way the air felt colder all of a sudden. That's when I saw the kid. He couldn't have been more than 6, standing barefoot in the middle of the aisle, staring up at the top shelf. No parents, no shoes, no cart, just him in a little red shirt, swaying back and forth like he was waiting for something. I stopped the cart and asked, "Hey, you okay? Where's your mom or dad?" He didn't answer, just slowly turned his head toward me. His eyes were dark, not just in color, but like they were too deep in his skull. He opened his mouth, and I swear to God, I heard static, not his voice, static like a broken TV. Then the lights went out. Total blackout. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. I heard the cart roll back on its own. Something clatter off the shelf. And then that horrible static, closer now. I turned and ran, I didn't care where. I bolted toward the back room, slammed through the doors, and didn't stop until I was standing in the loading dock, bent over and shaking. Nobody believed me, of course. The footage corrupted, they said. Like it always is. Greg just handed me a cigarette and said, "Now you know." That should have been enough to make me quit. But I didn't. I needed the money. A couple nights later, I was restocking near the frozen food section when I saw something again. There's a set of double doors near the meat coolers that led to a hallway nobody uses. It was built for employee offices, but they'd long since moved them elsewhere. Still, I saw movement through the little window. A man tall wearing the Walmart vest, but nobody should have been in there. I watched him stand at the end of the hallway. Unmoving, I blinked and he was closer. I looked away for half a second, and when I looked back, he was right at the door. I nearly dropped the frozen pizzas. I backed away and the man just stared at me through the glass. He didn't blink, didn't move. Just watched. I radioed security. Told them someone might have broken in. They checked the hallway, no one was there. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was overtired. Maybe seeing things, but it kept happening. Boxes moved by themselves. Product scanners would speak in voices they weren't programmed to have. I once heard my name whispered through one. Jason, it said over and over like it was stuck on repeat. Then came the night everything fell apart. We had a team of 5 scheduled. By 2 a.m., 2 had walked off the job after seeing things in the CCTV room. They wouldn't say what. One guy quit on the spot. That left me, Greg, and a new girl named Elena. I found her in aisle 17, crying. She said she heard someone calling her name over the intercom, telling her to come downstairs. There's no downstairs in that Walmart. We got her to the break room, and Greg told me he was going to pull some old security tapes. I didn't see him again for 3 hours. When I went looking, I found him sitting in the surveillance room. Staring at the screen, footage was paused. He pointed at the monitor and said, "Tell me what you see." It was footage from 3 nights ago. A man stocking shelves in aisle 17. Normal stuff, then the footage jumped. Glitched, the same frame repeated 3 times, then suddenly the man wasn't facing the shelf. He was staring straight into the camera, his eyes pitch black. "That's not me," Greg whispered. But it was the date, the time, the shift, it all matched. Greg didn't come back the next night. I tried calling him, no answer. I still don't know what happened to him. My final shift came a week later. I'd put in my 2-week notice, but I wasn't planning to finish it. I just needed one more paycheck. Halfway through the shift, all the lights went out again. But this time, the backup generators didn't kick in. Total darkness, no hum from the freezers. No emergency lights, just silence. Until I heard wheels rolling, my cart being pushed down an aisle. I stood still listening, I could barely see. But I knew where the sound was coming from. Aisle 17. I turned and walked out, didn't even clock out. Left my vest, my scanner, everything. Drove home and never went back. Walmart sent me an email 3 days later. Failure to complete scheduled shifts, I didn't reply. But a week later I got a package, no return address. Inside was a Walmart name tag. Mine, but the name wasn't Jason. It was Greg. I used to work the graveyard shift at a gas station just off exit 17. One of those small, crappy ones that sits off a mostly empty stretch of highway in rural Illinois. It was a lonely job, just me, a register. A single security camera, and a whole lot of nothing from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. There were 3 coolers in the back, an old coffee machine that made worse sounds than coffee, and a soda fountain that occasionally leaked. It wasn't dangerous, not in a normal way. You worried more about boredom than anything. But weird things happened there. Things that make you question if you're really alone when you think you are. It started about a month into the job. I was mopping the sticky spot near the back fridge when the door opened. A guy walked in, middle-aged, wearing a blue denim jacket and dirty boots. He didn't say anything, just walked up and down the aisles slowly, like he was looking for something very specific. I greeted him, he didn't even glance at me. Eventually, he walked up to the counter and set down 3 bottles of bleach. No snacks, no drinks, just bleach. I scanned them, tried to make a joke about cleaning supplies this late at night. But he didn't respond, he paid in exact cash. Then just stared at me hard, like memorizing my face. Then he left. I watched him on the camera feed. He didn't get in a car, he just walked across the road into the cornfield across from the station and vanished into the dark. I thought that was odd, but people do weird stuff at night. Right, maybe he lived nearby. I tried to forget about it. 2 nights later, same guy, same denim jacket. Same boots, buys 3 more bottles of bleach. Doesn't speak exact cash, walks into the field again. This happened 6 more times over 2 weeks. Never broke pattern, never a word. I eventually stopped trying to talk to him. But then one night, a woman came in. Young, maybe in her 20s. Messy blonde hair, no shoes. She was shaking like she'd just run a marathon. Her clothes were torn and her feet were bleeding. She ran straight up to the counter and whispered, "Is he gone?" I was confused. I asked who she meant. She didn't answer, just looked toward the door like she expected someone to come in after her. I told her I could call the police. She grabbed my wrist and said, "Don't, he can hear radios, don't use it." Then she ran to the back, into the employee-only area, and locked herself in the storage room. I stood there for a few seconds, unsure what to do, then the door opened again. It was him, bleached guy, but something was different. His jacket was cleaner, like brand new. His face looked too smooth, like it didn't fit right. His skin didn't move when he blinked. He walked up, silent as always, placed the bleach on the counter. But before I could scan it, he looked past me, toward the back. "You didn't see her," he said. His voice was slow, like someone who hadn't spoken in years. Like his tongue didn't know how to move. I didn't say anything, I didn't move. I could feel sweat running down my neck. He stared at me for a long moment, then reached into his coat and pulled out a Polaroid photo. He placed it on the counter next to the bleach and walked out. I looked down at the photo. It was the girl standing in the same gas station. But in the photo, the lights were out. The windows were shattered and she looked much younger, like it had been taken years ago. I went to the back, banged on the storage room door. "He's gone," I said. No answer. I opened the door slowly. The room was empty, no sign of her. The only thing, there was a single footprint on the floor, bloody. Barefoot, pointing toward the back wall. There's no exit back there, just shelves. I watched the footage later, it didn't make sense. She comes in, talks to me, runs to the back. Then nothing, she doesn't appear on the camera in the storage room. But Bleach Guy does. He stands in that room for 5 straight minutes, staring at a wall. The lights flicker the whole time. Then the screen just cuts to static. The next night I didn't go in. I called the manager, said I was sick. He told me that was fine, but he was going to review the security footage. Said someone had left bleach and a photo behind the counter. I asked if he still had it. He said no, by the time he got there it was gone. I quit the next day, never went back. But a week later I stopped at a different gas station out of town. One I'd never been to before. A woman was working the register. Older, tired, we got to talking. And I mentioned I used to work the night shift off exit 17. Her face went pale. "That one's still open?" she asked. I said I didn't know, asked why. She leaned in close and whispered, "My niece used to work there. Long time ago, she disappeared during a shift. They found blood in the storage room, never found her." I didn't say anything, just slowly walked out and got in my car. But as I drove away, I noticed something. In the back of the gas station, near the dumpsters, there were 3 empty bleach bottles sitting in a neat little row. And right next to them, a fresh Polaroid lying face down on the pavement. I used to work as a janitor at a mid-sized hospital in the Midwest. It was a night shift position, from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 5 days a week. It paid better than any other job I could find. And I figured it'd be easy, mop some floors. Empty trash, maybe clean up a spill or two. But hospitals are strange places at night. You hear things, you see things. You feel watched even when you're alone. I never believed in anything paranormal before I took that job. I do now. The hospital had 6 floors. The 6th was for administration. And it shut down by 5 p.m. the 5th floor. Well, that was different, technically. It was still operational. It had patient rooms. Some offices, a blood lab, but for some reason, hardly anyone ever went up there. Most nights the lights on that floor stayed off. None of the nurses talked about it. The elevator didn't even list it on the display anymore. You had to punch in a special code just to get the doors to open there. No one ever asked me to clean the 5th floor. Not once. My checklist always started on the 4th and stopped there. Still, after 2 months on the job, I got curious one night around 3 a.m. I took the service elevator up to 5 just to see what the big deal was. When the doors opened, the hallway lights flickered once and then buzzed on. That was the first sign something was wrong. The lights were those yellowed. Dim kind you only see in basements or old motels, not a hospital. I stepped out, mop cart in tow. The whole floor smelled like antiseptic and rust. The air was cold, way colder than it should have been. And even though I didn't hear anyone, I swear I could feel someone breathing near me. I tried to shake it off, just nerves, right? The floor had 12 rooms, 6 on each side. All of them had glass windows on the doors. I peeked into the first few, empty beds. IV stands, untouched linens. Everything looked normal until room 509. The light inside was off, but I could see movement. Slow, rhythmic, like someone pacing back and forth. I knocked once, the shape stopped. Then it turned toward the window. But there was no one there, not really. What I saw through the glass wasn't a person, it was like a shadow in the shape of one. Darker than the room itself, it pressed up to the glass like it wanted out. And I felt this horrible weight hit my chest, like I was standing on the edge of a rooftop. I backed away, then the hallway lights went out. All of them. I reached for my flashlight, heart pounding. When I turned it on, the beam hit room 511's door, and that one was wide open. It had been shut seconds ago. Something moved inside. I don't remember running back to the elevator. I just remember slamming the button over and over until the doors opened, then hitting G and praying they'd close fast enough. The next day, I didn't tell anyone. What would I say? Hey, I went where I wasn't supposed to and saw a shadow monster. But then things got worse. Over the next week, the 5th floor started showing up on my cleaning logs. Not every night, just random ones. I asked the supervisor why, and she looked confused. Said she didn't assign it to me. But there it was, printed in red ink. Floor 5, rooms 501, 512. I refused to go. I told myself it was a glitch. A prank maybe, but when I skipped the assignment. My locker was found open the next morning, with a mop handle snapped in half and laid across my bench. That was not something easily done. Those handles were solid steel. Then there were the voices. While cleaning the surgical wing, I'd hear whispers through the vents. I thought it was patients or night nurses at first, until I started hearing my own name. Brandon. Always soft, always drawn out. Sometimes it would echo in places with no vents at all. One night, a nurse I barely knew pulled me aside. "You've been going to 5, she said. I didn't answer. She nodded like she didn't need me to. My cousin worked night janitorial before you. He took the elevator to 5 just once. Found him in room 507 the next morning. Eyes were open, didn't blink. Didn't talk, he's still like that. Sits in a home now, rocks back and forth. I asked her what he saw. She said they say 5 was a psych floor once. Decades ago, before they turned it into regular rooms. People didn't live it right. I should have quit, I almost did. But then I got a note in my locker. No envelope, just a torn scrap of paper with neat handwriting. You have to finish the cleaning. That night, the lights in the basement went out. My cart tipped over by itself. I was done. I told security I was clocking out early, gave my ID, and left. But the elevator didn't take me to the lobby. It opened to the 5th floor. The hallway was red now, not painted, lit. Like the lights themselves were blading. Every door was open, the walls dripped with moisture. I tried to hit the buttons again, but they didn't respond. Then I heard them. Footsteps, dozens of them. But not walking, dragging, like bare feet sliding across wet linoleum. They were coming from all sides. And through the static hum of the lights, I could hear voices. Not whispers, screams. I don't remember getting out. I woke up in my car parked across the street. Engine off, keys still in my pocket. The hospital called 2 days later. Wanted to know if I was coming back. I told them I wasn't. They said they understood, but they also asked if I had left something behind. When I asked what, they said a mop cart was found sitting outside room 509, still dripping red water.